welcome to List Off. I'm Nat,
Oh, and I'm Ossie.
and this week we're counting down our top 5 ice lollies. Although we have been, we're being generous with the term ice lolly.
Right, we had quite a bit of back and forwards on what definition we were going to use, and we were trying to make a definition which excluded packaged portable ice creams, and then we decided that was madness. There's only a couple of them. We should just include them. So the definition is portable frozen dessert that you could get in the freezer of an ice cream van.
Yeah, or a newsagent.
Or
freezer.
a newsagent. Because basically, if someone said to you, do you want an ice lolly? And you said, yeah, I'll have a flake ice lolly. That would be, you wouldn't be like, no, that's an ice cream. You can't have it. So it's that definition. But you couldn't have a scoop. You couldn't have, a Viennetta. It's not that kind of thing.
Viennetta.
Viennetta's not portable. It's too big. You couldn't fit in your pocket.
So you couldn't, from the ice cream van, you couldn't have a scoop ice cream or a Mr. Whippy?
No.
Not included?
No.
That's a separate list.
That's the definition we're working with, right?
And I also think it's a definition that we're working with, and you understand this definition if you're listening. You get what we mean.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to explain ourselves further.
You know
what we mean.
Something that could be an answer yes to the question, do you want an ice lolly?
Exactly.
It's that. And we've had incredibly hot weather prior to about the last 2 days. It was pure ice lolly weather, and now it's like torrential biblical rain. So we've slightly missed the mark with this episode.
And it's a shame because ice lollies are one we've been talking about since we started. But I think we were waiting till it was ice lolly weather.
Yeah.
Then sailed through the ice lolly weather.
Yeah, we missed our moment. We were like,
we've really missed our moment on this.
Oh, this is it. This is the 10 weeks of solid sunshine that you always get in the UK. Ha ha.
Then we realised it is actually like 8 days.
8 days and then ruination.
It's your punishment for having some nice weather.
You had the sun.
It'll just go.
Now all your belongings are washed away.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's God's punishment on us for something.
God is saying, I gave you ice creams, now I give you war, pestilence, and locusts.
And was it worth it?
Pence.
Perhaps not.
You let us know. Is our ice creams worth ice lollies? Are they that good?
What's better?
Global
ice
warming
lollies are global
equals more ice lollies.
I haven't been big on the ice lollies this year, actually. I feel like I haven't had that moment.
Probably because we're not out and about that much.
Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think I'm out on the streets enough to be popping into newsagents and casually buying lollies.
We've had quite a few in our freezer, so I think the multi-packs. So I've got some out in the garden, but some of them have been like like you get like a multi-pack of some favorite ice lolly. The multi-pack ones are like they're tiny. They're in some. They're like bogus sized.
How did you find coming up with the list?
Yeah, mine kind of picked themselves. Like my number 6 is nowhere near my number 5, so I feel like my top 5 is like a very much a Premier League to my honourable mentions. Championship. There's a serious divide there.
I was about to say exactly the same thing. I actually initially found it difficult to come up with 5. It was actually helped along by our definition that made it like, okay, well, if that's our definition, then I can throw in some extras. But actually, I realised I'm quite like having tempted all the fruit of the ice cream frozen lolly. I actually, I've made my choices. I think a long time ago. And actually, I think my honourable mentions are almost like perhaps might even side more on why I'm not into X, Y, and Z than honourable mentions.
Right.
Like, I don't know if they're like, I don't know if they deserve honours. They're sort of a bit like.
Just mentions.
They're just mentions in a kind of.
Yeah.
Some people like these, but I'm not into them. And I'll explain what I'm not big into. Which is not to say I'm right, but to say not my bag.
If there's anyone out there who breaks our mold that we've gone with, who will genuinely buy an entire Viennetta and eat it out the packet, like a massive chocolate bar. Let us know, because then
on
you
a stick or
no,
like a wooden spoon or something.
just push it up from the bottom like a Clippo, and then just like you know what I mean, like a giant baguette, like a Subway,
Yeah,
but just
I'd
a
like to see it.
Viennetta. I don't think I would like to see it. I think it would look awful.
Although that is the term ice cream sandwich is something that gets bandied about now,
Yeah.
isn't it? But like that's that's an ice cream baguette, so that would be a whole
Ice
a
cream
whole other
biscuit.
thing.
It's like 2 bits of wafer with a thing in the middle. It's not a
Yeah, no,
baguette.
I mean like if you ate a Viennetta, it would be like, what would you call that? That be the baguette?
A Viennetta with 2 bits of bread on either side. Be
Right.
mad.
Okay.
I play a game with my kids called Hand Sandwich, where you like hold out your hand
Hmm.
as the bread, and then they put
Hmm.
their hand down as one of the ingredients, and then both of them put their hands down, each one being ingredients. You know, like I put my hand down, say bread, they go ice cream, and my little one, she always goes ice cream, and then the second flavor will always be olives, and then I have to put the bread on and decide if I want to eat it, and no, I don't, because ice
Yeah.
cream and olives is a bad combo. But we play a
Agree.
lot of hand sandwich, but it's often got ice cream in it, which is weird because they've definitely never had ice cream in a sandwich.
Yeah, I can imagine. But they imagine, I think, at this point, a sandwich is something with something nice in the middle. But perhaps they haven't thought about the sandwich offsets nice things.
Children just want to see the world burn. They just want to like blow shit up. Ice cream and a sandwich and olives. Crazy.
Yeah.
That's why they don't make
Um,
the sandwiches. I do. That's why I make the sandwiches around this place.
you're doing it to help them,
Yeah,
you know.
they've clearly shown themselves to be incapable of making a sensible sandwich.
Should we begin?
Yep, you gonna start us off?
Yeah, I'm going to start us off. My number 5 is the Mars Ice Cream Bar, which was a late addition because it came in when we defined our rules. And I put it in because when I thought about it, like I remember the introduction of the Mars Ice Cream Bar, and Mars very much like when they did the Mars drink. Big fan of Mars because they nailed it both times. They come up with an unlikely thing, and you go, "Nah, I'm not into the idea of a milky Mars drink." And when I have it, I'm like, "Yeah, it tastes exactly like Mars. Well done. They've nailed it. They've nailed what is a Mars flavor in a drink form." And I think they did it again with the Mars ice cream bar. A Mars ice cream bar is almost great. I probably wouldn't choose it out of lots of other ice lollies, but I think it's made the top 5 simply because of how good it is at being what it set out to be. So a Mars ice cream bar is exactly an ice cream version of a Mars bar. It's not a choc ice, which is what I assumed it would be. It's a Mars ice cream bar. It's exactly what it says on the tin. Tastes like a Mars bar, but if it's a hot day and you want a Mars bar, you don't want a melty Mars bar, you want a Mars ice cream bar. And I think they absolutely nailed it. And almost as a real like hats off to Mars, because it made me think, do you know what? I think they were certainly, if not the first, amongst the vanguard of the ice cream bar chocolates.
Yeah, like the
And they
spin-off
absolutely,
spin-off
yeah,
ice
the spin
cream.
off.
I think they were the first, weren't they? I mean, that's how I
I think
remember it.
so. That's certainly how I remember it too. And I think when I did it, I remember being skeptical and being like, "No, they've absolutely nailed this." Mars ice cream bar. That's my 5.
I feel that because I think a Mars ice cream bar is less situational than a Mars for me. Like I would be I'd be more likely to take a Mars ice cream than a Mars in general. If I have a
Mm.
Mars bar, this is a bit niche, but I would take it home, put it in the fridge, let it go cold, and then slice it and eat it. That's
Oh
something my
yeah.
mum taught me.
Do you know what? You might be onto something though. Just then, and maybe it is just because of the weather we've been having. Uh, Maybe I prefer a Mars ice cream to a Mars.
Well, I mean, you're right. It's a very much a good replication in ice cream form, but it's like you
Exactly.
could. It's more refreshing. So a Mars is as a chocolate bar is incredibly not refreshing. A Mars
Hmm.
to me is like I'm having a sugar crash. You know, like I'm
Yeah.
having a crisis, and in that
Hmm.
instance, I might go Snickers or I might go Twix. You know.
Yeah. Well, I'd say it also fits the same thing that Snickers does in a kind of, oh, I haven't eaten anything. I'm
Right.
really hungry.
Yeah.
I don't want a chocolate where I'll still be hungry at the end. It's like a Mars, Snickers is sort of like snack food, which is almost like a meal replacement,
It's filler.
much like a Scotch egg or
Yeah.
something. It's got that kind of. It's more substantial
Yeah.
than
A Mars, a Snickers, or a Twix extra,
yes.
just to be accurate. But whereas a Mars ice cream is like, it's quite refreshing. You could eat a Mars ice cream and go about your day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's and actually, it is something where I'd sort of forgotten about it until we kind of extended our definition, and then I was immediately like, oh yeah, and I would do it, and I do quite regularly have a Mars ice cream bar. It's a little bit like a lot of those things. It can be a little bit difficult to eat in that kind of, it sort of crumbles
You might
slightly
lose some
before it's.
bits. Yeah.
Yeah, you might lose some bits, but luckily it is in the Mars packet, so you can tear it apart and get to it.
I would classify a Mars ice cream as something that other kids' mums have got in their freezer.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
kind of time when I'd have it as a kid.
yeah.
Not from a
And although
newsagent,
what,
but at other
yeah,
people's houses.
and very much like what, if someone says, "Would you?" I mean, I'd probably always say yes if someone's mum offered me some kind of confectionery, but I would be especially like, "Yes, please, Mrs. Such and Such."
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes,
And they'll say,
please.
"No, I'm called whatever," and I'd be like,
Please.
"Okay,
Okay, Dave's
thank you."
mum.
Yeah. Yes, please.
My number 5 is a pure classic from G.A. Lyons and Co. Limited. It's
Hmm.
the Zoom. It's the
Oh yeah.
Zoom Ice Lolly, introduced in the 60s to cash in on the popularity of Fireball XL5 and Thunderbirds.
Oh,
When
is that what it was?
That's right, both the Zoom and the Fab were cash ins on that kind of Jerry Anderson era. But the Zoom for me, 4 colors of ice lolly plus a quite mediocre chocolate sort of nose cone to give it its proper, aeronautical terminology. That's a fantastic lolly. It's a big rip. It's another big rip because they're not really in existence anymore under the Zoom brand. And if you get a Zoom type lolly, you get like a ice rocket or something. It doesn't have the chocolate top. It's just a bunch of ice lolly flavors on top of each other in a rocket mold. So the Zoom is a fallen soldier, but it was always a top option. It's fully child entertaining from as young as you can go with an ice lolly. You'd be like, yeah, I want that. That's top. And the chocolate bit, yeah, it's kind of silly having chocolate on an ice lolly, but it's you just take it. You're just like, yeah, it's a chocolate freebie to go along with my nice ice lolly. It's out of the way very quickly. You've had a bit of chocolate, and then you're onto your ice lolly. It's a good thing. And they came in a nice purpley, dark blue wrapper. Back in the kind of wax wrapper era before the purely plastic ones, it was a very satisfying unwrap, with some nice bold lettering on it.
Hmm.
I think Zoom's really an exemplary ice lolly. Super exciting. You want one now, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of do. Although what I'd say about the Zoom is, and it's something that will come up again and again, except for the exceptions where I think the exceptions are exceptional, is that I'm not a massive fan of mixing things in an ice lolly. Like
Things.
for me, the chocolate, putting a chocolate bit on a
Mm.
Zoom is a bit like, to me, it almost knocks a bit of a point off. Whereas I think I kind of would prefer it now. I'm not a big fan of when things mix like that. I find it a bit weird. I'd much rather have one thing and stick with it.
You think it's gilding the lily?
Do you think it's a little bit gilding
It's
the
like
lily?
miscegenation that you can't stand for. Stay in your
I've
lane.
exactly. So maybe I've got quite Catholic taste when it comes to ice lollies. It's 2 things that you mentioned there that I thought were interesting. One is that I've long, like when I see adverts for Zoom, it actually has been a pleasure when you see like old 60s adverts for Zoom. And so I knew it was that old. But whenever I see it, it blows my mind. I assume Zoom started in 1983 or something.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea it went back that far. And it's interesting again that you said, "Oh, it's same with Fab," and I went, "Oh, I love that because you've got Zoom and Fab, and it's called Fab because I guess at the time Fab would have been like the buzzword, the sort of '60s buzzword."
No, I think it's
That's
literally
just
FAB, Scott.
ah
Yeah, so it's like a
great.
tie-in, but it's not, and it was even licensed. I think they initially had the characters on the wrappers, and they were popular. So they were just tie-in, cash-in confectionery, and then
Yeah.
they stayed popular. And so they lost the licensing, but it carried on as Zoom and a Fab. You know, because it doesn't make any sense that a Fab's called a Fab. You know,
No,
but it's not called a
no,
Fab,
but I
is it? It's
like
not
it.
FAB. It's capital F, capital A, capital B.
It's an FAB
It's
lolly.
an FAB lolly.
Also from the same era, one that has fallen by the wayside, but whenever I see adverts for it, I go, incredible, incredible, is when you see 60s adverts for the 60s Ice Lolly Kinky is the one I find like, that's my favourite 60s Ice Lolly
That
where they've
didn't
just gone,
that did
Kinky.
that didn't make it through to our era, did it? The kinky.
No, it absolutely hasn't.
No.
I don't think it made it past like a year. Although when I see photos of it, it looks like a tasty it's like a sort of pinky color. I don't know
Pinky
quite what it
kinky.
is. Yeah, pinky kinky. It's yeah, but the kinky looks pretty good. But yeah, certainly didn't make it past that '60s era, past the era of kinky boots and
Was it a boot shaped?
no, it's quite a regular looking ice lolly.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, no, I'm broadly in favour of the Zoom by all like, but
But you're opposed to its mixing of
I wouldn't
mediums.
say I'm opposed. I'd say I'm agnostic about it.
Okay.
It doesn't excite me.
Okay.
And if anything, it kind of is a bit like a. I could get it, but my number 4 is one is essentially the M&S Valencia orange juice lolly, and it's quite a simple one. And often, like on this show, I'm always talking about how I think often when people try and do a sort of Waitrosification of food, and I guess M&S is also similar to this, where they try and take something that's essentially syrup and just sweet sugar stuff, and they try and do a kind of posher version of it, which is a bit more like you can probably give your kids this. I'm generally opposed to it, and it's like, and people almost fool themselves into thinking it's better because it's made by M&S, and it's like M&S chocolate, and you go, yeah, but it's just like getting a, what's the point in eating some bad chocolate when you could get a flake or something? What's the point? What's the point? But I'd say the Valencia orange juice, which is just juice, it's frozen Valencia orange juice on a hot day, is absolutely lovely from M&S. I don't know of an equivalent. I don't think there is a mass market equivalent, but you can get them in multi packs in M&S, and they really are tasty. And they are exactly what they purport to be, but it's almost that they make that orange juice better. It's the best version of having some Valencia orange juice. So it's a very almost like it's a slightly sweeter than you'd get in a kind of than the juice itself. It seems like
Yeah.
because it's in ice lolly form, but it's really tasty and feels like it's all the sugars are a bit more natural. So it's probably a little bit better for you than getting an actual ice lolly.
Mm-hmm.
But on the plus side, it is one of the best ice lollies.
So it's
But as you
just a
say,
classic. It's a classic orange juice lolly, basically.
yeah, yeah, but it doesn't feel like it's quite good orange juice. So it's not like if you got some Mr. Juicy and put it in in an ice lolly mold.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
No.
It's a really tasty, iced orange juice.
Yeah, I rate that. I haven't got an orange lolly on my list, but I do rate that as a thing. I think that's like a really solid. You can't go wrong with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
From a 3-year-old to a 90-year-old, you do want an orange lolly. It's good.
It suffers in exactly what you're saying before, though, in that because it's in a multi pack, it's like they take liberties with the size where they've gone. Oh, you could probably knock like half an inch off this because it's a multi pack, and it's like come on, guys,
I tell
stop
you,
holding out on me.
when it comes to shrinking the size for multi-packs and stuff, it's one thing shrinking the size of the actual ice lolly, but what I hate is when they've shrunk the size of the stick. So you're holding, like sometimes you get this tiny little nub sticking out the bottom of this tiny half-size stick, like half width, and you're supposed to hold that with your big man hands. And you're like basically just pushing it between your thumb and your finger, and you got this tiny little bit. You eat this ice lolly, by the time you finish, you've got like you probably cramped up your fingers, just from trying to hold on
Yeah,
to this ice lolly. Don't scrimp on the stick. Damn it.
yeah. Actually, going back slightly to the zoom is it's when you're talking about opening the packet, and that's something that's really nice about ice lollies. Is that sort of when you're sort of peeling it off, and you've got that kind of little bit of syrup, which is almost like sticking to the. Mm,
It's good stuff.
I know it's bad for you. I know it's just sugar, but it's a lovely bit of
And with the wax packs where you had to
lovely
kind
bit
of
of thing.
blow into you open one end and blow into it to get it off, because otherwise it would just be
Mm,
completely stuck. Don't really have that problem anymore. But it was a thing at the time, like blowing on Nintendo cartridges before you played your video game.
yes.
My number 4 is a Magnum. Specifically, I think, and this gave me some trouble, but I think the Magnum Double Caramel is the best currently available. They do a lot of limited editions, and sometimes they come out with some hot ones. A lot of them are hot garbage or cold garbage.
What
But
do you mean hot ones?
no, I mean it's hot garbage.
Oh right, okay, sorry,
They're
they're
not
not
actually
hot ice
hot.
cream.
They're not hot ice cream. That's why I said it's cold garbage. It's freezing cold.
Right.
I just mean they do some limited editions that are horrible. Occasionally they do good ones. It's sad when those good ones don't become part of the general line. But the double caramel is good. It's like a darkish chocolate, layer of caramel, darkish chocolate, and then the vanilla ice cream in the middle on the stick, and that's great. It's better than an original. But when I remember when we got I think it was when we first got Magnums, and they were like this super luxury. They cost like over £1, even back then.
Exactly.
Was what, £1.15 or something? Launch price, blow your mind. Um, and they always felt very extravagant and a bit over the top. I wouldn't. Like, they're not as good as they make out in a way, but I do think they got better. The more modern ones have changed the shape. They're not the same as the old, very kind of boxy looking original ones. The original ones in like 3, 4 flavors, they were very boxy, and they kind of they were so likely to lose all the chocolate onto the floor. You know what I mean? You start eating them, you're like, this is great, and then all the chocolate's falling off, and you're like, forget it. I've just got a load of vanilla ice cream on a stick now. Nowadays, they seem to have more sticking power. And yeah, the raspberry one is good. There's a few good ones going on, but I'll take the double caramel. They were originally made by Frisco of Denmark,
Oh yeah.
and then taken over by Unilever. Like most ice creams are owned by Unilever now, and marketed into different brands around the world, kind of thing. Based, so over here it'll be like it's Walls. It's not Walls. It's Unilever. But except in Greece, where I often go on holiday, where Magnums are called Magic, which I really like. So you go like, I'll have a double
Mm.
caramel Magic, please. It's exactly the same thing, same logo, same everything, but it's got to be called Magic because I
Um,
guess someone else has Magnum.
over here, do you think the Magnum refers to like a gun,
No,
or do you think it refers to champagne Magnum?
champagne.
So it's like saying it's luxury. Is what it's
Yeah,
saying.
and they've done
Got it.
champagne flavored. They've done like champagne flavored Magnums as well. So I think it's like they've got that in mind. I don't know if they're available in America where you push the gun angle.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know a lot about the American. I think that the American ice lolly market has developed very separately from the rest of Europe. Whereas in
I
Europe,
think it does.
it's all kind of coalesced into one thing, and you get the same thing from country to country, just with different branding, Algida, whatever. But like in America, it feels like the wild, wild west still.
I'll tell you that. I think there is something isn't there, that I always assume are ice lollies that they call something like ice pops or something.
Popsicles,
Popsicles.
yeah,
Is like I presume that's what that is, right? I presume that's what we're talking about.
yeah, popsicles are ice lollies. Yeah,
I've never been a big fan of a Magnum. Like to me, it is like it's just chalk ice. And I know they're super popular and people love them. And even things that I'm kind of drawn to, like the white chocolate Magnum, like so when I have it, it's like it's just not that
Yeah.
bothered. I think it's maybe the ice creamy bit, the addition of that.
The ice cream is very unspectacular. I think, especially
Yeah,
with the white chocolate, white chocolate and vanilla don't go together that well, in
no.
my opinion. It's a bit like bread and bread. You know, it's not complementary. I think you need the dark, and I think so. I think the modern ones with the extra layer are better.
Hmm.
Double caramel, check it out.
I can see that. Uh, my number 3 is the mini milk.
Ooh, old school.
But always a treat, always too small. Um, I mean, they're probably, arguably, having talked about like the mixture of ice cream and ice lolly. The mini milk is always feels like some weird science-based combination of the two that always appealed to me. Um, they're one of like the sweetest ice lollies for me, and have that real appeal, like a strawberry or vanilla mini milk.
Mm.
I always love, and unlike lots of as a kid, one of the things I used to really like about them is that it was always too cold to bite into a regular ice lolly, but a mini milk I could kind of take the top off and have this sort of lump of melting mini milk ice lolly ice cream in my mouth and give it a good sort of chew.
Mm.
Um, and that was something as well. That was probably the first multi pack that we might have at our freezer at home as well, like mini milks. Um, and even at the time, they were kind of small. And like, I think they're the ice cream equivalent of a Milky Bar for me. Always too small. Always want more. Um, but in that little package, it's almost like perhaps it's perhaps it's a good thing, and that it's saving you from yourself by only giving you a small portion, because otherwise it feels like, I could probably eat endless amounts, and maybe it's telling me don't eat more of this.
It's a
Don't eat more
mini.
of this
It says in the
delicious
name, it's a
nectar.
mini milk.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not.
Mini.
It's not a maxi milk.
No, but if they brought them out, I think I'd be drawn to them. Love the idea of them. Very tasty.
I think they're only available as multi packs now. Let us know if you can still get them individually in
Yeah, I don't
newsagents and
see them
stuff. Because
about so much now.
remember that old? I can remember the old packaging of an individual one, but in a multi pack, it's
Mm,
much more plain packaging. Obviously, once you're inside the box.
yeah.
So I've had them as multi pack things with the kids and stuff, but haven't seen them in a shop. All the shop because they would be cheap as well, which shops don't like.
Oh, they were super cheap,
Yeah, it
which
was
I
super cheap. So
really liked about
nowadays
them.
it's like, oh, you've got to have at least £1.25 minimum
Yeah.
for a nice lolly.
Also, if you find them in a local newsagent and they are separate, but they have written on them not to be sold
Yeah,
separately, that doesn't count.
a multi pack mini milk, not to be sold separately. Yeah, no, they're great. They totally have their legendary place. I can totally remember like there's individual newsagents where I can remember like reaching up and down into the freezer to pull out a mini milk. Like that's just
Hmm.
part of that life at that era.
Exactly, and it feels like it's something that I would choose all the time, despite the fact I'm getting something less in my own eyes. And I think for a child to pick the mini milk over a bigger lolly
Mm,
is saying something about how good the mini milk is. To
yeah,
get the cheaper, smaller one is often like feels like that's its strength. That it'd still be like, I still have a mini milk. Still
yeah.
what I want.
No, they're amazing. My number 3 is also a childhood favorite. It's also a big rip, no longer available. It's a funny feat. Love a funny feat. A special kind of rubbery ice cream that doesn't taste like normal ice cream. It has like a slightly bouncy quality to it. Like if an ice cream had a baby with a marshmallow. Massive fan of a funny foot or funny feet. The big toe would have chocolate over it. The other toes wouldn't. It was a great pleasure to eat. Apparently, although they're discontinued, you can get like a knockoff version from Iceland, which I have only found out today. And I'm going to test this out this week when I go to my local Iceland and buy some, I don't know what they're going to be called. Funny. What was not worth a foot?
They're probably clown shoes. They would call themselves clown shoes.
You used to get a few other ice creams that were made out of that stuff for a while. That would be like wacky ice creams aimed at kids. But that funny feet type of ice cream, I think is fantastic. On a stick. I reckon you got a better quality of joke on the stick of your funny feet than you did from any other ice cream because it was funny. Do you know what I mean? It was inherently funny.
I think that's another thing about Ice Lollies, that feels like the joke thing seems to have gone out the window now.
Yeah, I haven't had an ice cream.
That's another thing they don't bother with. Something they don't bother with. It's just like one of those things where I feel like university grants. I feel it's something which the youth of today are owed, but they don't know about. It's like it's terrible. Something was taken away from you, and you need to know about it. And you need to know that in the past things were better, and it's been taken away. Just because it's not there now, it's owed to you. It was taken off you. That's what you need to remember, kids. You used to have jokes on your sticks.
Yeah.
It used to be an extra thing that was just free.
It's a free joke.
It's just a free joke. Wouldn't necessarily be good, but it was free, and you could choose to do something with it.
And you as a comedian, I mean, that was another employment strand for comedians.
Yeah, probably.
Ice Lolly jokes, you know, slaving away, writing individual jokes onto individual Ice Lolly sticks.
Yeah.
In the Walls factory.
That guy left the Walls factory with his box with a plant in it, yucca plant, carried out, and it was a sad day when that happened. Sad day for the country, I think. Yeah. But you're right. I probably wouldn't go for a funny feat, and certainly not in probably since I've been a grown up. But I do respect them. I respect them a lot.
I'd have one today. I'd have one now.
Yeah.
It's 10 p.m. I'd eat a funny feat right now.
But also, like, I think you're right. It is that, like, sort of similar to the mini milk. It is that I really like that sort of ice cream science, and someone who's used their life as a scientist to create some weird ice cream variant. I respect that, and that kind of thing. Like, what is this? And the answer is, I guess, no one knows. No one knows. It's high science, kid. You've got to study to find out whatever this is.
Based on pure school era rumor, I would imagine it was just a lot of whale fat. Do you know what I mean? Just blubber. A really blubbery ice cream. That's what I'd go with.
Yeah, I absolutely respect it. Yeah, it's not one I'd go for regularly, but I've got a lot of.
It had that good strawberry flavor, that kind of strawberry ice cream, cowpole, totally synthetic flavor. Really good. Funny feat. Give me one now. I'm going to Iceland. That's Iceland the shop, not Iceland the country, in case you're booking tickets.
Yeah, who knows whether that is what list Iceland is on currently. My number 2 is the Clippo. Yes, please. Always an option. Always one of the big uns. Love a Clippo. I like it's an ice lolly that I think is a massive tease in that bit where you open it and you can't get you sort of want the Clippo now, but you can't have it for a little bit. You've got to wait a bit. It's like you've opened it up and it's like, yeah, I'm already eating the Clippo, but I can't have it yet.
Yeah.
It's and then followed, of course, by that bit where it's melted a bit too much and you get overexcited and spill a bit down your front, which has happened, I'd say 90% of the time that I've eaten a Clippo. It's worth it.
I've seen you spill numerous Clippos, so you know I can vouch for that.
Spilt my Clippo. God,
could I push you on a flavour?
Oh, orange, regular.
Yeah.
Regular Clippo, all the way. I remember once on the hottest day of the year getting on a tube in Vauxhall, and there was a little shop in the station, and just before getting the tube, I bought a Clippo, and I know some people find it horrible when people eat on the tube. But I bought a Clippo on the hottest day of the year, went into the tube, and I remember like looking at all these sort of sweaty business guys with their tie off and their sort of drenched shirt, and it was one of the best Clippos I've ever had in my life. I just looked at them as if like, you absolute losers that you didn't think to buy a Clippo before you got on, and I felt like I was totally cool because I had my Clippo, and it was that sort of great combination of just looking at these sweaty businessmen thinking, I've absolutely beat, for once in my life, I've beaten you businessmen. Take that. It was a great day. Great day. I think about it often.
Why is the cola flavor Clippo still available everywhere? Because I've never seen anyone order a cola flavored Clippo.
It's true.
It's just always available. And you think like, surely by now you'd have looked at your sales figures after 38 years or whatever it is and gone, oh, do you know what? No one's really buying the cola flavored ones.
Yeah. I like, in my mind, it's the kind of thing I had once when I was a kid and went, sure, and just went back to orange immediately. Like,
yeah, it tastes
no opinion.
exactly like how you would imagine it would. So you don't want it as much. Like I don't understand the cola flavored Clippo, but all over Europe you can go and you can get a cola flavored Clippo, and you're just like, no one's ordering that, and you can tell because like it'll be the only flavor left in a badly stocked shop. Exactly. So you'll be like, yeah, proof, because the other ones have sold out. Maybe they're packed like, you know, in one pack, like, so you buy a packet for your corner shop, and it's got like 20 cola, 20 orange, 20 lemon and lime. Yeah. You know,
or maybe it's like the way that that you used to have to buy toys if you're in a toy shop, and if you'd buy the range. So if you had like, we're buying He-Man toys, you'd probably get 4 He-Men, 2. Yeah, if you're the manufacturer, often they'd sell them. So it'd be like a rare figure that you'd have to. Yeah. Like, that one's a rare, but no one wants it. Do you know what I mean?
But do you remember when you get toys from Argos and it was just like, you couldn't choose which one you wanted. So you'd be like, I want a He-Man toy. And it'd be like, you don't know what you're going to get, because they literally go and get it in a cardboard box off the shelf. And it'd be like, you got Merman. You'd be like, oh, that's not what I wanted. You know, suck.
Supposedly, there's a chapter that I know of in Gary Barlow's autobiography where he's talking about that and saying when they were selling the Take That toys in Toys R Us, they you could buy them, and he was there, and I think it was like often that he'd go there and he'd be like in disguise and going, "Have you got the Gary Barlow one of these?" And they'd be like, "No, mate, it's sold out." And he used to always be like, "Yes, sold out." And then someone worked out later that what it was they were like loaded, so there was less Gary Barlows. Like it was like, for every like 10 Take That figures, you'd have 1 Gary Barlow versus like at least.
Because I was going to say, like, I wouldn't imagine he'd be in the top 3 selling Take That dolls.
No. So, but he'd sell out because, like, if you've got the set, like, so I guess kids at Christmas, their parents go, "I'll get all the Take That dolls," whereas you'd end up with a Gary. But like, as individuals, they manufactured way more of the other guys.
Yeah, because I would imagine that Robbie and Jason would outselling by like 10 to 1 or something.
I think that's exactly what happened. And
what's how he sort of says what's the other guy called? Howard. I reckon him and Howard would have a decent battle for third place.
Yeah, and you know what? Howard would be happy with that. I imagine he ought to be. But yeah, like, and he found out, and then it was a thing where they had to tell him, no, actually, there's way fewer. I mean, the rarity value of this doesn't actually add up when you just realise that there just aren't that many Gary Barlow dolls, and that's why you can't find them. If someone's bought the set, there's going to be none on the shelf. You know, there's only one. Someone's nan came in, just bought all 5, and now we got no Garys.
Who's the 5th one?
That's his life. Robbie.
No, Robbie Williams. Robbie, Jason, Howard, Gary. Is there 5 members that Take That?
Mark Owen.
Oh, of course, Mark Owen. Jesus. Yeah, he'd be a top seller.
Top seller, of course.
Long time.
Especially that Christmas 93.
In leathers.
Big seller.
The first range of Take That dolls would have been in leathers.
Oh yeah, unless they did unless they were like He-Man and they had to bring them out in a different gear, and that bit
Oh, I'm
where.
sure
So
they
is
did.
there a version where they came out and they've got the dreadlocks and things? How it's got his dreads.
Just,
maybe worth looking into. Maybe worth doing some extra research into the Take That toy line.
we've gone quite off topic here.
We have. I would say that here's something else I'd say about a Clippo. I reckon I was maybe 11 before I realised they weren't called Calypsos.
Oh, I think
That's
that
what I'd
goes
say
for
about them.
everybody. I still, if I offer someone an Ice Lolly, they might still say they want a Calypso. And I'll be like, I know what you mean. I'm not going to correct you here because I'm the bigger man.
Yeah.
You know, just say, yeah, got it. I know what you want.
Anyway, Clippo, my number 2.
My number 2 is again, and I feel this is a bit too many of these in here. It's another unavailable, retired, much missed Ice Lolly. It's a Sky bar, a Sky ice cream bar. It was it was like a choc ice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a chocolate outer layer, vanilla ice cream. But what made the Sky bar special and incredibly special was that it had a central core of chocolate, and it was aerated chocolate, like a Whisper or an Aero, right?
Oh, like in the centre.
In the center. So when you bit into it, you had like a crunch, ice cream crunch feeling. It was absolutely delicious. You could just eat the outside off and leave the aero-y bit down the middle and eat that afterwards. Or you could, yeah, just bite through and you got this great, yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, it was almost a chocolate bar. The ratio of ice cream to chocolate was very much in chocolate's favor by
Right.
ice cream standards. It was fantastic. I would say they were available through the 90s, and then I think they were from HB. You can watch some adverts for them on YouTube, which I've done this week, obviously. They were fantastic, and they were another one of those ice creams that disappeared, and then you'd go on holiday in Europe and you'd see them there, and you'd be like, "Oh, why do you do this to me? You're just rubbing it in my face." That, you know, and then you saw them no more, and they really don't exist now. But they were phenomenal. They were like, I like a choc ice, but a Sky bar was like absolutely raising the bar for
Mm-hmm.
choc ices. It was I would say it was better than a Whisper or an Aero and a choc
Okay.
ice. It was
The name rings a bell.
they
Yeah,
came in
but
like
I
a
don't.
dark blue wrapper, and the Sky writing was like kind of chromed out, but had a kind of bubbly effect on it to represent the
Okay.
bubbly chocolate. Man, they were good.
Yeah,
Really delicious.
I'm not a big choc ice guy, but I can respect that. That sounds.
Oh, this was
That
very
sounds something
much
I could have got
like you
involved in.
talking about like a Mars ice cream. This was very much a chocolate bar that
Mm-hmm.
had evolved into an ice cream. You know, it was like
Gotcha.
it had the interest of a chocolate bar rather than being a relatively plain kind of choc ice. You know, it was something else, man. I if they became available again, I'd get a new I'd get a freestanding freezer just to fill up with multi packs of them, because I've got a lot to catch up on, because it's probably been 20 odd years
Sure, you're
since I've
owed.
had one. Yeah, I've got like a lot of years of Sky Bar eating to get back with. Miss them. Yeah, let us know who else remembers them, because they were good. Mm-mm. They must have, like, you know, when all these ice cream companies like swallowing each other up and merging and stuff, they must have just got dumped at some point when a company got bought up. HB must have got bought up by Unilever, and Unilever went, "We'll take your top 2 brands and we'll just dump the
Mm-hmm.
rest." You know,
Yeah, we don't have enough room to keep that one going on the.
exactly. Rest in peace.
Also, I think a lot of people have quite, in general, they don't they don't stray too far away from the core flavors to find out about the also rans, I guess.
Guess so.
Having said that, my number 1 is a big one. It's a big one. It's a Twister. It's a Twister. You guessed right, Ozzy. It's a twister. I love a twister, and even though, like, I'm not a big fan of ice cream mixed with ice lolly, I think that bit of ice cream that goes around the twister is something else. I feel it's like it really adds something, and there's not a lot of it. It's, I guess, in that way, it's almost like trifle like. Not that I'm a big fan of a trifle, but like it is that nice, that sort of little bit of vanilla ice cream with the sort of lime. I like a lime
It's
sweet, a
not
lime.
vanilla
And
ice cream on a twister.
what is it?
It's pineapple ice cream, man.
Is it pineapple?
You want to have a
It
word of
is.
you want to have
Yeah,
a word of your tongue. It's
yeah,
pineapple ice cream. I
yeah.
should
I
cut
guess in
in.
some
I
ways.
need to cut in here and say that my number one is also a twister, of course.
Ah,
I think
okay.
this is one of them. This is one of those top fives where it's like, oh yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, obviously one.
Yeah. 5,
Because
4, 3, 2 twister.
yeah, it's just because it's like it's that thing of like, oh yeah, I like ice lollies, I like ice creams. It's the only one that smushes them together in
Mm-hmm.
an exceptional way.
It's
And
exciting.
oh, it's great.
And also when you get to the middle strawberry bit, right? It's like you've forgotten. It's like an embarrassment of riches. I think a twister. It's like, oh, ambassador, you are truly spoiling us now with our strawberry center. Like it's got everything. It's got it all.
I think so. I think
Um,
you've probably done the pineapple ice cream off first,
hmm
spiral licking it all the way around.
hmm
Then you've got your limey green bit,
Yeah.
yum, really refreshing. So you're feeling refreshed, and then you're ready for the sweetness that cuts through of the strawberry in the middle, and you're just like, yes, I can finish with this. This is great. It's a fantastic ice lolly from Walls originally, now Unilever Heart brand all over the world. Launched in 1982. I think this is an honor that goes to no other ice lolly. I think it's the only ice lolly to have a tie-in roller coaster, the Twister coaster ride at the West Midlands Safari Park. I've been to the West Midlands Safari Park, but prior to the launch of the Twister coaster ride.
Oh,
But
we should go.
for fans of roller coasters, it's a wild mouse style roller coaster. Do you know the really kind of boxy ones that kind of go at really sharp angles? It's like
Okay. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you get on a pier. It's that
hmm
kind of. So it's not like a big crazy, Alton
Loop the
Towers kind of
loopy type
ride.
thing.
No. It's just a small boxy one, but it's Twister branded. I think that's like really impressive. I think and Twister is it's a hell of a brand. If I was Unilever, I'd be like sponsoring a football team or something. Imagine you have a football team with
Yeah.
Twister written across the front. Oh, that'd be
Yes.
fantastic. I'd buy that shirt, even if it was like
Yeah.
not if it was Tottenham, but if it was like Scunthorpe or something, or like
Or a country.
Palermo. Countries can't have sponsors. You just don't know anything about football.
No,
Never
I
mind.
don't.
What country would Twister sponsor if they were going to sponsor a country?
One that has lots of hurricanes. Um, or the Hurricanes, the football team from
Hurricanes
the
aren't
cartoon.
twisty. You're thinking of tornadoes.
Oh, what's the hurricane then?
Hurricanes is wind.
Is it?
Yeah.
There you go.
It's a top ice lolly. I mean, like, it's an ice lolly that I can enjoy with my kids. Like, they'll choose a twister, and I'll be like, "That's my girl," and I'll be like, "Yeah, I'll have a twister too." I won't be like,
Just to join in. I'm not.
rookie mistake ordering that one." Like, my oldest will often get a feast, and because she can read
Okay.
now, she goes, "I want a feast original," which sounds like I don't know Armani original. You know what I mean? Like, I want a feast original. It's like, is this a feast? You don't have to say original. Let me tell you. So she'd be like, I want a feast, and I'd be like, bad choice. It's dusty flavored. It's not that great. But when they order a twister, I'm like, yeah, I'm having one too. It's
Yeah.
great.
I mean, it's got that thing now as an adult where I'm always disappointed at how small it is. It's like, oh, I want an extra little bit of twister.
Yeah.
But again, like the mini milk, it's like leave them wanting more. That's
Even
first rule of
more
show
so
business.
in a multi pack. I mean,
Oh
they're
yeah,
tiny. They're like
yeah.
tiny, and they don't have all the flavors on in a multi pack. It's like you have one which is just strawberry with the ice cream, and then you have one which is just lime with the ice cream. They don't have the central core, and it's like, you are just, this isn't okay. So I've sworn off buying multi-packs of Twisters for my kids, because I'm like, I feel like I'm doing them a disservice. So I'm going to go and buy like
Yeah.
some proper ones, or get them from like a cash and carry, somewhere where you get the real deal. Do you know what I mean? But Twister, I think it's just, it looks totally unholy. You know, you're making it as an adult eating your Twister. You're making a statement. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're saying, like, I choose the genuine ice cream experience over looking like an adult. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's
Yeah.
respect to you for that. Whereas if you're walking around eating a Magnum or like a Solero or something, you know, you're like, oh, the Solero. It's like, well, joke's on you, pal, because that's rubbish. That's a rubbish Ice Lolly, and I'm having a Twister. You know, I'm having a Twister, and I'm having to lick in a spiral in public. But that's fine, because it's good. I can deal with that.
I'm happy with that. I'm happy with my choices.
Yeah, like I'm not that insecure. I can.
No, that's 100% how I feel about it as well. I think there's something about making that choice, as I do. It's always my number one choice. You know, I feel like when I don't have one, it's almost like I'm actively not having a Twister if I'm having something else.
Yeah, you're being.
It's like, I guess I'm not having a Twister. Yeah, so it's like, I guess I'm not having a Twister today. So it's like it's kind of the obvious choice, but it's the best choice. And like you say, I would, so, you know, I'm definitely going to enjoy it more than I enjoy a Magnum. Soleros, I don't even think I've ever really got to grips with. I don't think they're that great. People talk about them like they're something, but
no. If you want one of them, have a strawberry mivy. That's a good ice cream. If you want like a, that's good. But don't have a Solero. It's terrible. A Twister, I just think now you can get them everywhere. Like, you can get them all over the world. I think, you know, they've really been Unilevered across the world, and possibly on other planets as well. It's that big of a company, you know. But it's just, it's a really good thing, and it is refreshing. That's the other thing. It is refreshing. Like, that's actually going to cool you down. You know, it's not true of almost anything else on my list. Maybe a Zoom, but basically the others won't particularly. But a Twister is good for that. You know, the lime in it, that's good. That's gonna make you feel like, oh yeah, summery, but I'm feeling okay. Have a glass of water afterwards. You're good to go.
Now then.
Massive
Also, it's
fan.
interesting when you have a water after an ice lolly, and the water seems weirdly kind of warm. It's like, oh, it's got that weird thing when you have a water after an ice lolly.
That's
good.
Right.
Good to experience things in life.
It's great stuff.
Experience.
Did you have some also rans? Yeah, honorable mentions, also rans.
Things that I thought were interesting were things like when I was a kid, like or when I was a kid, people used to about jubblies, right? I didn't know that jubblies were a real thing, because in my newsagent, what was called a jubbly, or what kids referred to as a jubbly, were not actually a jubbly.
Yeah,
it was the newsagent would get those. Do you remember those things that were basically like cups of drink with like a foil top?
Yeah,
they would just put those in the freezer, and they'd be like, "That's a jubbly."
Yeah.
And it was like years later when I realized that, oh, jubblies are like a real brand name thing. Yeah. That's like but I never used to see them until, like, it almost like, I feel that jubblies came into their own, the brand jubbly, as a result of people thinking, do you do jubblies? And they went, yeah, we do jubblies. Like, it's almost like the kids adopted the name, and then
I would love to know if the branded ones came before the general name or what, because I don't know. Yeah, I think it was just a general term for any kind of frozen orange.
Oh, maybe that would make sense. That's certainly, like, I didn't know of, like, we referred to things as jubblies, but later, it was later when I went, oh, it's an actual thing, a jubbly?
Yeah, because the actual ones are in that shape. I'd love to know what the name for that shape is, because it's like two triangles connected together at an angle, right? So it's like a kind of MC Escher kind of like impossible shape. That jubbly shape is great, and it works better than a Clippo for pushing up the ice. Works very well for that. So I do like a jubbly. I think for something to have at home in your freezer without being healthy at all, a jubbly is a good option. I like that. It's good taste.
In secondary school as well, things we'd often have ice poles.
Yeah, Mr.
which
Freeze.
which would have that thing where I'd sort of struggle to get the hole to get into it. So
Yeah.
I'd sort of spend a lot of time just kind of sucking a tiny hole I've managed to puncture in the bit of plastic that would hold it in. And also, it was a big thing at that time because I think for a while the shop near our school was doing them for 6p. So it'd almost be like a false economy not to buy one. It'd be like crazy. I'll have this and an ice pole.
Nothing else after school would people be as generous with as like a Mr. Freeze or ice pole. It'd be like, I bought like 5. Do you want one?
Yeah.
Like he'd be like, hey, do you want to? I'm getting on the bus. I need to get my bus pass out. Do you want to have some of these Mr. Freezes that I've got that I can't carry? I'd be like, yeah, go on then. Some of them would be a bit melty, and it'd be like even better.
Yeah, great.
Obviously, we can agree surely that if you're getting a Mr. Freeze, if you're getting an ice pole, it's blue first. You're going to go for blue first.
Always blue.
Then maybe a green or an orange.
Yeah, if you're getting multiples. If I was getting one,
I wouldn't knock a cola ice pole. I think that's quite nice.
No, I like a cola thing. I like when you're talking about the
cola Clippo.
Cola Clippos, but at the same time, it'd be like
that's too big.
Why bother?
But for an ice pole, it's great.
I mean, which is the great thing about something costing 6p, because it's like it's less of an investment. So it's like, why not? Why not?
I think an ice pole, Mr. Freeze or whatever, to get the full effect, you have to be on a bus. I think to really appreciate it, you have to be on a bus with school kids. You're right.
That's something I think I would feel conscious about eating as an adult, though. I think it's almost like I feel like those days are behind me.
I don't know
if I'd eat one now.
Next time you come around my house, we'll get some ice poles and we'll just eat them in the garden so no one can see us.
Cool, let's do it.
I think my freezer is long enough that we could have some decent ice poles in there.
Any other?
I've got a few more, like a classic lemonade lolly with the sort of ridges in it. I like that. That's good. I'll still order one of them from time to time. If I'm like, I don't really want an ice lolly, I want a drink, but I will have one, then I'm going to have a lemonade lolly.
Yeah. Well, I think lemon's a really good flavour for ice lolly. So yeah, I guess that's exactly. I think sort of like a sort of cloudy lemonade-y looking.
Yeah, when I was a kid, a lemon sparkle. That's what it was, a lemon sparkle from the ice cream van. One from school era that I haven't had since, and it sounds yuck when I think about it, but was a cherry brandy lolly with a dollop of Mr. Whippy on it. Did you ever get them? Did you have an ice cream man that did that kind of thing?
No, but maybe
outside my school they did it. Ice cream man outside my school was like, you get your cherry brandy lolly, and then they do a little of Mr. Whippy on the side of it. You kind of eat that and have the cherry brandy with it, and it had a nice kind of quite sophisticated flavor. It was, I would say it was a little bit like a Bailey's or something. It had a kind of like
a liqueur,
a jewelry, like you want to be wearing like a kind of bathrobe when you're eating it.
Right.
Obviously it's a hot day, so it's not really ideal to be wearing that, and you're just coming out of school and getting on a bus, so it's not going to happen. But that's the kind of vibe that it had. Sophisticated option.
I remember there was one that was more. It's definitely more of an ice creamy thing, but you get it in like almost like a pot. And at the bottom of it, what's the thing that was like almost like I'm picturing almost like a shuttlecock, but at the bottom of it was like a bubble gum. What was that one?
It was a screwball.
Screwball.
It's a screwball. When you used to order one from my primary school, the ice cream van outside there, they had like a classic Cypriot North London ice cream man, and he looked like Saddam Hussein, had a big tash, and he always had like about 5 days worth of stubble, and like he's just wearing a vest. You know what I mean? Like a wife beater in the ice cream van. And he had really hairy arms, huge hams, and he was a great, terrifying man. And he used to be like, you'd be like, yeah, could I have, I don't know how you describe it. You'd be like, I just want one, in the plastic cup thing. And he'd go, you want screwball? And you'd be like, yeah, I want screwball. Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, with bubble gum in the bottom, and then some sauce on the top. Screwball. Yeah, like I was terrifying, man.
I can't resist. I still can't resist it. Like in a way, I often cycle around Victoria Park, and me cycling and essentially not really being able to ride a bike with one hand is the one thing that stops me not buying an ice lolly every time I go around the park. If I'm walking, it's a curse. I got to have one. Can't not have one.
For the record, I don't think a screwball would be eligible for our list. I think that's
yeah.
that's practically house gemacht rather than like packaged. My one more that I've got is a current one that I rate. It's a current kids one, and it's the Roundtree watermelon lolly. Have you had that?
No, I haven't had their fruit pastels either. I don't think
that's okay, but I would say the fruit pastels is an unfun Zoom, right? Whereas the watermelon one is watermelon flavored. It's got red at the top and a green bit at the bottom. You can eat the green bit, unlike on a real watermelon. And then it has like some pips in the side made of little chocolate lumps. So in that sense that it has the chocolate element on an ice lolly, it harkens back to a classic Zoom. But it's a nice, refreshing watermelon taste. And when my kids have a watermelon lolly, I'll be like, I might have a watermelon lolly too. Or at least I'll eat the end of yours when you want to go on the climbing frame.
Right.
So yeah, that's a good one. It's a good one that wasn't around in my day, but I rate it.
Yeah, that sounds quite nice. I can imagine a watermelon ice lolly being pretty good.
Yeah, I mean we've discussed watermelons.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's a flavour that I think would apply itself well to ice lolly.
I think so, unless you're Tom Harris of Buenos Aires, Argentina, who hates watermelons because he's some kind of heathen. So he'll probably be sending you more hate mail about my mentioning of the Roundtree's watermelon complaints.
Some hate mail again.
Yeah.
Oh
man, just fundamentalists who are against watermelon. Fundamentalists.
I really do feel like living in the future when I can pay for an ice lolly with my phone or credit card on a card reader now. There, I think that's incredible. How far we've come.
Is that specifically with ice lollies?
Yeah, I just think got a card reader. Go. It's like, cashless society. I like it.
Well,
I like paying for.
I have been at a children's playground with an ice cream van in the last year, and the kids have gone, "Can we have an ice cream?" And I've gone, "Just haven't bought any cash." And they've gone, "They've got a card reader." And I've gone, "Oh, what bloody ice cream vans adapting with the times and ruining my plan." Yeah, exactly. So then you're like, "Oh well." And the kids even know, like, if I was like, "Oh, I don't have my wallet," they'd be like, "You can pay with your phone." Mama pays with her phone. I'd be like, "Jeez, it's got me over a barrel here." Okay, I'm having one too.
I often go around the park with my friend Jake, who lives near me. If we walk around the park, I'll always go, "Jake, do you want an ice lolly?" I'm offering to pay for it.
Yeah.
But only so, and he always says, "No, I'm all right, thanks." And I'll queue up and get my ice lolly.
Well,
and I think it's a bit like, no, it's like he's like, I think he's too good for it. I think he's or he's like, he's healthier. He's thinking, "No, I'm all right, thanks." And it's like, come off it. But it just means I have to eat one solo. I have to go around with my, Often though, I am changing up because I can get one quite regularly.
Yeah,
I am changing up. So sometimes I'm getting that. I've had a disappointing regular cola one.
Mm-hmm.
I've had an okay bubblegum flavour one.
Oh yeah.
But I think I might need to go back to the classics because I've tried out some, variants, and it's like they're a bit like, sure, they're okay. But I think I need to go back to some of the core ones.
We went to great lengths effectively to allow cornettos to be on our list, and then neither of us included cornettos. I mean,
no, not into them.
It's okay. The cornetto's okay. My kids quite like cornettos, which I like because they're less messy. So I'm like, yeah, sure, you can have a cornetto. I'm laughing. You're gonna make less mess.
I wouldn't. Yeah, it's almost like I can't really think of a scenario where I'd pick one. Obviously, I'm too. I don't have enough sense of free will to. If someone offered me one, to say no, I'd probably always just go, yeah, I'll have one.
I was coming out of school on the last day of kids' school on Friday, and the parents in front of me were, kid and his mum were walking home. He was like, "Oh, when we get home, are we going to have Magnums? Like you said, we could have Magnums on the last day of school. Remember you said you could have Magnums on the last day of school? Do you remember you said, Mum?" And she was like, "Yes, I have got Magnums for you, but I didn't realize, but I accidentally got the mint ones, and I made an audible noise like, ooh, you know. And he looked around, the kid, and I was like, I had to put a face like, sorry, kid, sorry, you got the mint one, sorry. Like, and it made me feel really good as a parent. Like, no way am I accidentally getting a mint Magnum for my kids. That kind of attention to detail, which you'd expect from someone who'll talk about ice lollies for an hour. But
exactly,
you know, it's
true. Yeah. I would trust you to do that. The last time I made an error like that, I think, was going around your house and ending up with bottles of Beck's Blue. But I feel like that's a mistake everyone's made once in their life.
You only make that mistake once.
Yeah, and you go, what? What? They need to change the packaging a bit more. That's crazy. Yeah. That is crazy.
Yeah.
But you know, yeah, in cornettos, really, I'm only really ever going after the sort of plain milk chocolatey one. That's all I'll have, really. And actually, any of the others, I probably would go, I'm all right.
I quite like it when the wafer cone the waffle cone kind of gets like rubbery. You know,
I think
it kind of
gets
best. Like chewy. That's good.
Yeah, I think that's its best function. Yeah, I'm not against them. I kind of find that weird, whatever that chemically ice cream thing in it that isn't quite ice cream, whatever it is. I find that again, I'm kind of like, I'm sort of blinded by the science of it, and I respect it, the science of it in the same way I kind of respect the funny feet science. Like it's kind of it's an interesting thing. I don't mind it, but yeah, I just can't really think of a scenario where I would have a cornetto from a fridge. It would have to be they pretty much only sold cornettos or something. You know, the variety would have to be very small for me to go for a cornetto.
Understood. We may have a little summer breaky bit now while I'm on holiday, or we may get some more done. I don't know, but keep giving us more ideas and like, share, subscribe, and I'm doing my head
Tell
like
people
Jack
about
Jackson.
it. I think if you like it, or you think you've got friends who might like any particular one of our episodes in particular,
yeah, because no one's going to like all of them.
Yeah, I'd say maybe suggest to your friend who might like Ice Lollies or witches, werewolves, not werewolves, witches, warlocks, wizards, or.
I was at a family function yesterday, and my elderly uncle was like, "What's this thing you're doing with your friend?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's like a thing where we talk about things, do like a top 5." And he's like, "What about what kind of thing?" And I was like, well, we're doing one about ice lollies." And he was like, "Oh, right." And I was like, "Yeah, but the last one was about witches, warlocks, and wizards." "Oh. And do people listen to that then?" And I was like, "Oh, well, you know, some people listen to it. Yeah, they like, some people listen to it, even though it's all about different things." And I was like, "Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, it's really for people that like stuff, stuff.
Yeah,
it's like for people that like stuff, and they to think about how much they like which stuff. That's the thing." And he was just looking at me like, "You young people," which is great because I'm 40 years old, so I'll take that. I'll take that one.
I think you've nailed it. I think that's what it is.
Stuff.
It's about liking things.
Things and stuff.
I like things.
We'll see you next time, and have a rainy week. Yes. If you're in the United Kingdom where it is raining.
Yeah, or if you're listening in the future, I hope you're having very pleasant weather wherever you are.
And if you're hearing a slight crackle on your headphones like I am, just imagine it's the rain that is actually raining down outside.
And I hope wherever you are, it is ice lolly weather.
Oh, yeah. Let's have I didn't mention one. Crunchy ice lolly, quite good because it's crunchy flavour. That's it.
Exactly.
That's all I've got to say about that.
Agreed.
Yeah, great.
That's it.
That's it.
Goodbye.
Bye.